Shenhao, I live in my godmother's house, and the system makes me the king of the CCH 01 to 10. Summary. Super rich plus refreshing novel plus older sister plus auntie plus mother and daughter plus daily life plus everything you want is here. Fang Tian, a programmer and working class man, tragically dies while trying to save a friend, only to find himself in a parallel world as another Fang Tian. Who knows how absurd this Fang Tian's death will be? His reckless indulgence has led to his demise. Fang Tian collapses, covering his face in despair. Brother, where am I, a 32-year-old single man, supposed to put my face? Before he can even mourn, Fang Tian suddenly realizes something is wrong with this world. The male-to-female ratio is severely imbalanced, with 140 million more women than men. This is a crazy world where women chase men. You can get hit on by a dozen girls while buying groceries, and even people ask for your WeChat when you take out the trash. But where's the system? Where's my transmigrator's standard system? Fang Tian tries every summoning method imaginable, even kneeling before it, but the system doesn't even give him a ding. Oh well, even without cheat codes, I still have this handsome face. I'll focus on developing my body first. However, he never expected that after 2 months of silence, there would be a sudden knock on his door one afternoon. His gentle landlady stood in the doorway, holding a steaming bowl of black chicken soup, her eyes filled with undisguised concern. She gently brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, her voice so soft it could melt water. Tian Tian, I made you some soup. Fang Tian's Adam's apple bobbed, alarm bells blaring in his head. Wait, are we moving too fast? But a voice inside him was screaming, mission activated. Host, seize the opportunity and take the initiative. Holy crap. So this is when my system appeared. Chapter 1, The Landlady, and Su Fang Tian of a Parallel World, isn't your way of dying a bit too embarrassing? Fang Tian stood blankly in front of the mirror, staring at the reflection that was both familiar and strange, a bitter taste filling his mouth. The young man in the mirror had decent facial features and looked handsome and delicate. However, his cheeks were gaunt, his skin was a sickly pale from years without sunlight, and with dark circles almost hanging down to his chin, he radiated an aura of being completely drained and kidney deficient. At 1.8 meters tall, wrapped in a loose t-shirt, he looked like a walking clothes hanger. That's right. The person standing here now was no longer the original Blue Star Fang Tian. Inside this body was Fang Tian from Earth, an ordinary office worker. 32 years old, single male. He served in the military for 2 years during college, finished his studies after being discharged, and then entered society. He wasn't doing particularly well or poorly, his job was mediocre, everything about him was average. He was just one of the masses. He couldn't be called a good person, nor was he a villain. In his last memory, it seemed there was a 10-car pileup on the highway back to the company after a May Day trip. Had he stopped to act as a good Samaritan? It was mainly because he saw a tiny little boy in one of the wrecked cars, so his very occasionally emerging kind personality had flared up. He stopped, saved 3 or 4 people as a good Samaritan, and was preparing to save the 5th, when the car exploded. When he opened his eyes again, he was in this state. His brain was stuffed with 2 sets of memories. One belonging to the life of a common worker bee, and one belonging to the tragicomedy of a college student. Fang Tian from Earth was a good person who acted as a good Samaritan and died heroically. But Blue Star Fang Tian, how should one put it, his way of dying was very educational. Blue Star Fang Tian, 25 years old, a graduate of Jinghai University, a top-tier student from a 985 university. The turning point in his life happened the day before he received his diploma. His parents both died in a fire caused by a moronic neighbor downstairs who violated rules by bringing an electric scooter upstairs to charge. The pain of losing his parents left Fang Tian devastated. He first started binge eating, and his weight soared to 200 jin. Then he developed depression. Shortly before his death, he developed anorexia, and his weight plummeted to 104 jin. But none of this was the direct cause of his death. The real reason for his physiological death was that, in his grief and inexplicable impulse, this guy rewarded himself a full 10 times in a single day. 10 times. Even a body made of iron couldn't withstand such abuse. In the end, due to extreme exhaustion and electrolyte imbalance, he rewarded himself to death. Every time he flipped through these memories, Fang Tian, an office worker who often switched between his left and right hands, couldn't help but tighten his legs and feel an ache in his molars. Buddy, with this way of dying, even the king of hell would have to write 4 big words in the book of life and death. Spectacularly baffling. Whew. Fang Tian took a deep breath and cast aside distracting thoughts. The super strong adaptability of an office worker allowed him to quickly accept reality. Since he was here, he might as well settle in. The life of a worker bee is busy. 996 is the norm, and 007 wouldn't be surprising. In his previous life, his only pastime was reading novels. Urban, apocalypse, Thulhu. He was familiar with all genres. So his first thought at this moment was, where is my cheat code? This world was not much different from Earth. The only thing abstract enough to make him gape was the gender ratio. Global data showed a female-to-male ratio of 5.2, 4.8. Seems okay, right? In China, this ratio reached an outrageous 5.5, 4.5. Converted into concrete numbers, China currently had 770 million women and only 630 million men. A full 140 million more in the women's army. This was a world with few wolves and much meat, and the meat was so plentiful it was inexhaustible. If the men of Earth knew about this, they would probably be so envious their eyes would turn red like rabbits. Thinking of this, Fang Tian didn't want to waste a single second. To thrive in this heaven-like start, he was still missing the most critical thing. System. Fang Tian gave a low shout, his voice steady and carrying an unquestionable authority. The air was terrifyingly quiet, with only a few bird calls outside the window. Activate system. Deep blue. Personal information panel. Give me anything. I died as a good Samaritan. Is there priority treatment? Fang Tian tried several classic poses for summoning a system that protagonists in web novels use. Dead silence. Fang Tian's temples twitched a few times. Finally, he took a deep breath, went to the bed in the bedroom. His knees went weak, and he plopped down on the bed, his voice choked with emotion. System brother. System daddy. A man has gold under his knees, and this is a pair of 24K pure gold hero knees. I've knelt for you. Just show yourself, little system, I beg you. He used all the levels of shame and summoning techniques he could think of, but didn't even receive a ding in response. Fine. Fang Tian patted his knees and stood up, regaining his composure. It seems either there is no system, or the trigger conditions haven't been met yet. No rush, steady development. Current primary tasks: make money, eat, work out. He was a million times dissatisfied with the skin and bones body. He checked his bank card balance, and there was only a pitiful 20,000 or so left. The 2 million in compensation left by his previous self's parents had been mostly squandered in 2 years on games, tipping streamers, and buying a bunch of flashy junk. Fang Tian's blood pressure rose as he flipped through the memories. What a prodigal child. Went out to eat, simple exercise. The foundation of this body was shockingly poor. He was shaky even doing 2 standard push ups. He could only start with the most basic squats and sit ups. After 5 minutes of training, he was panting like a bellows. The road ahead is long and arduous. 2 months passed in a flash. Fang Tian confirmed 2 things. First, he truly had no system. Second, this world was very safe, no zombies, No superpowered individuals, everyone was living ordinary lives. He had also completely digested all memories and integrated into this world, which was similar to Earth. The biggest change was his weight. He had gained weight to 131 jin. Although still a bit thin, he had finally shed the refugee look. His body couldn't yet handle high-intensity training, but maintaining basic daily exercise gave his previously pale skin some color, and the dark circles vanished. He became a bit more handsome, deserving the title of Blue Star's Daniel Wu. Fang Tian himself wasn't very satisfied with this good boy image, but he couldn't help it, the girls in this world loved it. The first month he didn't go out, staying home to adapt and build muscle. Starting this month, he went out twice, and every time he went out, it was like a sheep entering a pack of wolves. In the time it took to buy groceries, at least a dozen girls approached him, innocent students, mature older women. Their gazes were fiery, as if they couldn't wait to devour him alive. Fang Tian rejected them all. He was currently extremely lacking in a sense of security. He had to keep these seductive bitches whose backgrounds he didn't know at a distance for now. However, that mature woman in professional attire he met yesterday, her chest was truly fierce. That scene of raging waves couldn't be erased from his mind. Sigh. Fang Tian lay on the bed, wearing shorts, looking at the tent pitched in his pants. Little Fang Tian was standing tall and proud. While thinking about the busty older woman from yesterday, he prepared to engage in a handiwork inherited from his predecessor, one filled with tragic colors. Having lived 2 lives, he was very skilled at this task. However, right at this moment, knock, knock, knock. A crisp knocking sound suddenly rang out. Holy crap! Fang Tian jumped in shock, his hand trembling. Little Fang Tian instantly turned from an iron warrior into a shrinking turtle. He scrambled up in 3 steps, hurriedly pulling on his pants and t-shirt. Who is it? Fang Tian asked with a bad tone, suppressing his anger at having his good deed interrupted. This door hadn't been knocked on for 2 months, and it just had to ring now. Did they have a grudge against him? Tian Tian, are you home? You finally made some noise. Open the door quickly, it's your Aunt Sue. You child, I haven't seen you for nearly 2 months, you scared Aunt Sue to death. I thought something had happened to you. Aunt Sue? Fang Tian quickly searched his memory. The image of a charming, middle-aged woman immediately appeared. It was the landlady, Su Wan. Fang Tian opened the door and saw Su Wan standing at the entrance, wearing form-fitting loungewear that accentuated her well-maintained figure, her face filled with genuine concern and a hint of relief. Su Wan looked Fang Tian up and down, a flash of surprise in her eyes, and clicked her tongue. Oh my, Tian Tian. You seem to have much more energy. You've gained some weight, but you're still too thin, and Sue's heart aches seeing you. Fang Tian scratched his head, revealing a well-behaved smile that matched his current appearance. Aunt Sue, I'm fine, it's just that a while ago I was a bit depressed and was adjusting myself in the room. It's good that you've adjusted, it's good that you're better. Su Wan patted her ample chest and said, it just so happens that Aunt Sue made some 10-ingredient black chicken soup today, thinking that you definitely haven't been eating properly at home, so I specifically brought a pot over for you to nourish your body. Looking at the steaming, fragrant clay pot in Su Wan's hands, and the genuine, even carrying a hint of a special luster concern in Su Wan's eyes under the hallway lights, Fang Tian's Adam's apple bobbed. He subconsciously took the clay pot and stepped aside to clear the doorway. He suddenly had a strong premonition. His dull life in this world of much meat and few wolves was likely about to end completely from the moment this beautiful landlady knocked on his door. Chapter 2, Aunt Sue, with you like this, how can I not react? Su Wan was Fang Tian's mother's best friend. She was a few years younger than his mother, in her 30s. Unmarried. Fang Tian had never asked exactly how old she was. However, time was truly biased toward Su Wan. Even though she had passed the 30-year threshold, there were almost no traces of it on her face. Today, she was wearing a casual set of loungewear. The silk material hung loosely on her body, but it could not hide the beautiful figure underneath. Su Wan was not tall, more than half a head shorter than Fang Tian, with a petite frame, but she was certainly not lacking in the right places. Her long, jet black hair was casually tied into a bun at the back of her head, with a few stray strands hanging by her ears, making her standard oval face look lazy and gentle. Her eyebrows were meticulously groomed, slender and dark, and were currently slightly furrowed, carrying genuine concern. Beneath her brows, a pair of almond-shaped eyes were soft and gentle, with an indescribable, mature woman's charm in her gaze. Her nose was delicate, her lips soft and rosy, with a slightly thicker lower lip. When she pursed them, it looked like she was holding back some emotion, making it hard for anyone to look away. Her jawline was rounded, connecting to a swan-like, fair and straight neck. Her collarbones were faintly visible at the neckline of her pajamas. The neckline was designed to be loose, and the top two buttons were left undone, whether because she forgot or couldn't be bothered. Consequently, Fang Tian unavoidably saw the curve propped up high by her breasts. Su Wan's chest was truly fierce. That loose silk pajama set was stretched into a breathtaking curve, the fabric clinging so tightly it felt like it wouldn't be able to hold on for another second. Yet her waist was incredibly slender, with the lines nipped in just right, while at her hips, it transformed into two firm, rounded curves, stretching her pajama pants to the limit. Further down were a pair of fair legs exposed to the air. They weren't the kind of stick-thin legs, but rather fleshy, plump, and fair legs. Her feet were tucked into a pair of pink slippers, 10 toes round and cute like silkworms, painted with a light green nail polish that made the skin on her instep look even fairer and pinker. Su Wan was beautiful, Fang Tian wasn't just flattering her. In his past life, he had spent so many years on TikTok and had seen many women from various countries, but Su Wan's mature woman charm, which was soft and carried an unconscious allure, was truly lethal. As for why she was single, in this world, it was perfectly normal for women to be single. With the gender ratio so skewed, many good girls couldn't find partners. "You've changed a lot here." As soon as Su Wan entered, she began looking around, her tone filled with surprise. "It was such a mess last time I came." "Oh my, how did you fold your quilt into a tofu block?" She pointed to the quilt on the bed, looking curious. Fang Tian laughed casually. "I can't just go on like that forever. People have to look forward. Aunt Su, please sit." He brought the black-boned chicken soup to the dining table and pulled out a chair. The entire room had been cleaned by him, and everything was arranged neatly. The quilt on the bed was a tofu block folded strictly according to military standards. Su Wan sat down, watching Fang Tian's busy back, and then glanced at the tofu block quilt. Her heart suddenly felt incredibly sour. She held it in, but couldn't hold back. "You child, you're so sensible it breaks my heart." Hearing the voice, Fang Tian turned around and saw Su Wan sitting on the stool, her eyes already red, clutching a tissue in her hand, her shoulders trembling slightly. "How could your illness get better so quickly? You've been pretending to be strong in front of Aunt Su every time, haven't you? But seeing that you've gained some weight, Aunt Su is really so happy." Su Wan was genuinely heartbroken. Fang Tian was someone she had watched grow up since he was a child. When her best friend passed away, she had promised to take good care of this child. But she had watched as this child went from a normal, sturdy young man to a fat pig, and then to skin and bones. Combined with his depression, she was anxious, but she couldn't do anything, only able to bring some food every few days, knock on the door, and confirm he was still alive. She had come several times this month, but no one answered when she knocked. She thought the child had locked himself up again, and she was on edge. Seeing him today, and seeing his condition had clearly improved, She couldn't hold back those emotions anymore. Fang Tian saw Su Wan shedding tears, and he felt bad too. He knew Su Wan was genuinely good to him. In the memories left by his predecessor, this Aunt Su had never given up on him. He was just about to start comforting her. The next second, a semi-transparent dialogue box suddenly appeared in the air before him. The beautiful landlady is shedding tears in front of you. What is your choice? 1. Walk forward, pat her shoulder, and comfort her in a low voice. 2. Snort coldly and say with a look of disdain, I'm not even crying, what do you have to cry about? 3. Shout sternly, you old hag, crying as soon as you walk in, ruining my good mood, get lost. The system will issue corresponding rewards based on your choice. The expression on his face froze. System, are you sure this is a multiple choice question, not a true or false question? The system ignored him. Fang Tian silently processed this for 3 seconds in his heart. Good news, I have a system. Bad news, the options for the system look more outrageous than the last. He quickly scanned the 3 options. Option 1 was what a normal person would do. Option 2. Option 3. A thought suddenly flashed through Fang Tian's mind, is it possible that the more outrageous the option, the richer the reward? Isn't that how it's written in many web novels? Choose the most outrageous one, and the system rewards are maxed out. How about giving it a try? He looked at Old Hag and Get Lost in option 3, then looked at Su Wan's tear-stained face. The image of him sleeping on the street the next day immediately flashed in his mind. Forget it, he couldn't afford this blessing. Fang Tian walked behind Su Wan. He was standing, and Su Wan was sitting. He was tall, and Su Wan was short. Standing behind her, a viewing angle problem immediately arose. Su Wan's pajamas didn't have the top 2 buttons fastened to begin with. Looking down from his angle, the neckline was wide open like a curtain, and all the scenery inside was in full view. The mountains were high and firm, a snowy white expanse, with a deep cleavage in the middle, faintly visible against the silk pajama fabric, adding a bit of indescribable allure. Hiss. Aunt Su, you are being too generous. Fang Tian averted his gaze and placed his hands on Su Wan's shoulders, gently rubbing them. Upon rubbing, he discovered that Su Wan's flesh was particularly soft. Her shoulders were soft, and pressing down with his fingers, he could barely feel the existence of bones, it was all a warm and soft sensation. He forced himself to focus on serious matters and said in a low voice, Aunt Su, I've thought a lot over these 2 months. I can clearly feel my body getting better. I've been taking my medicine properly and taking good care of myself. I've made you worry. For these 2 months, he had indeed been seriously conditioning this body, but what he was eating wasn't antidepressant medication, but protein powder for muscle gain. Hearing Fang Tian comfort her in return, Su Wan's heart felt even sourer. She sniffed, raised her hand, and patted the back of the hand resting on her shoulder, a natural and intimate gesture. Her hand was also soft, not rough at all, warm and hot, like a piece of warm jade. Aunt Su told you before, your mother is gone, so just treat me as your mother. It just so happens I don't have children either. Aunt Su will cherish you. Su Wan's voice still carried a sobbing tone, soft and sweet, making one's heart tingle. If you have any grievances or discomfort, you can tell Aunt Su. Also, for your illness, remember to go for follow-up checkups on time. You haven't gone for a checkup in almost half a year, do you know that? Fang Tian's hand movements paused. Su Wan didn't shake off his hand, instead, she kept her hand covered over the back of his, her thumb unconsciously rubbing it gently. This posture was a bit too intimate. But Fang Tian knew that Su Wan truly had no other intentions. She was genuinely treating him like a child. He hesitated for a moment, his Adam's apple moved, and he called out, "Okay, I know. Godmother. That Godmother made his throat feel a bit tight. Uncontrollable crooked thoughts like if there's something to do, do your Godmother, if not, popped into his head. Stop. How despicable. She was caring for him so sincerely, and what kind of stuff was he packing in his head? Godmother. Su-won looked up, looking at him in disbelief, the tears in her eyes still not dry, but the corners of her mouth were already grinning. You called me Godmother? Godmother is good, Godmother is good, woo. She was so excited she turned around directly, opened her arms, and hugged Fang Tian's waist. Fang Tian froze completely. He hadn't expected this. What was worse? He had just been standing behind Su-won, and little Fang Tian was facing Su-won's back. As she turned around to hug him, she bumped right into it. The firm little Fang Tian sank into a soft embrace. That softness was exactly the region of raging waves he had glimpsed from the neckline earlier. With this, little Fang Tian became even more excited. Fang Tian stood there like a wooden person, both hands suspended in mid-air, not knowing whether to hug her or not. Someone save me? The system's dialog box popped up in time. Congratulations to the host for completing the option, obtaining 1000 yuan in cash, which has been deposited into your bank card. Facing the beautiful landlady throwing herself into your arms, what is your choice? 1. Push her away and shout, you're in your 30s and you're still taking advantage of a young boy. Do you have no shame? Get out. 2. Pretend to comfort her, patting her back. But actually be wicked with your mouth, and Sue, you aren't crying loud enough. Cry louder, and I'll like it even more. 3. Pretend to be nonchalant and nudge her twice with little Fang Tian. 4. Do nothing. The system will issue corresponding rewards based on your choice. He looked down at Su-won, who was burying her face in his waist with excitement, and at the silk pajamas on her body that couldn't hide anything. Then he looked at option 3. And Sue, with you like this, how can I not react? Chapter 3, Pushing His Luck. Yes, you heard that right. Fang Tian wanted to choose option 3. To pretend nothing was wrong and nudge her twice. Don't be too quick to judge him. He had his reasons. First of all, theory was only theory after all, no matter how reasonable a conjecture was, it was still just a conjecture. If he wanted to know whether the rewards got richer the more outrageous the option was, there was only one way, test it. Options 1 and 2 went without saying instant pass. Option 4 was safe, but since he had already chosen the safest option the first time, choosing it again would be pointless. Only option 3 carried risk, but it was a controllable risk. If his movements were subtle enough, Su-won, who was currently crying her eyes out, might not even notice. All right, those were all just excuses Fang Tian made for himself. In reality, he just wanted to give her a little nudge. At this moment, the wicked fire in his body was burning bright, and Su-won's embrace was simply too soft. Between this hardness and softness, it was truly a matchup of worthy adversaries, a meeting of well-matched rivals. There was no reason not to let them spar a little. There was no time to hesitate. Fang Tian noticed that the border of the system dialog box in front of him was turning from blue to red, its edges flickering slightly. This thing actually had a countdown. To choose or not to choose. While Fang Tian's mind was still locked in a fierce internal battle, his body had already made the choice for him. He gently placed his hands on Su-won's back and wrapped his arms around her. Comforting words poured from his mouth one after another, playing automatically without passing through his brain. It's fine, Godmother. Don't cry anymore, things will get better and better. I'm here, I'm here. His tone was gentle, his expression sincere. However, behind Su-won's back where she couldn't see, Fang Tian silently adjusted his sitting posture. He shifted back an inch, then returned to his original position. Just like that, once. An extremely subtle sensation was transmitted through the fabric. Fang Tian's breath hitched for half a second. How should he put it? Doing it with clothes on was even more lethal than without. The silky smoothness of the nightgown, combined with the warmth and elasticity beneath, was a massive sensory overload. And Fang Tian suddenly realized a fatal issue. His body in this lifetime was experiencing this for the absolute first time. His past life's experience belonged to his past life, but this physical vessel was brand new, and all its senses were experiencing this for the very first time. Even though he was a battle-hardened veteran mentally, his physiological responses were fully present, a rush of blood, a racing heart, and sweaty palms. Su Wan was still sobbing softly, her face buried against his waist, seemingly completely oblivious. Fang Tian's courage grew just a tiny bit. Once again, he silently shifted back a bit, then nudged forward. The second time. This time, he was more composed, his movement gentler, yet his angle was much more precise. That sensation could only be described in 2 words, so satisfying. As he was sighing with pleasure in his heart, Su Wan's muffled voice suddenly came from his arms, "MMH. Tian Tian, let Godmother go quickly, I can't breathe." Su Wan's face had been buried against him all this time, so she was probably genuinely lacking oxygen by now. She wanted to reach out and pat Fang Tian's back to signal him to let go, but she missed the spot. Her hand swept around and patted, pat, right below Fang Tian's lower back. A third pat, a fourth pat. The spot where these 2 pats landed was exactly where his instrument of crime had been quietly nudging forward just moments ago. Well, that was a buy one get one free deal. Ah! Fang Tian let go with a start, like a thief caught red-handed. Su Wan also bounced back like a startled little white rabbit. Wet tear tracks still hung on her face. But her expression had already switched from sadness to panic. It's over, I've been caught. Fang Tian's mind spun rapidly. Should he kneel and admit his mistake? Slap himself twice? Or just sit down and say, "Godmother, I lost my mind, I'm a monster"? While he was pondering which confession plan would yield the lightest sentence, he heard Su Wan speak in a panic, "Tian Tian, I'm so sorry. Godmother accidentally touched your body. I didn't mean to." Her tone was both anxious and embarrassed, her voice trembling at the end. Fang Tian. Wait. She thinks she accidentally touched me? Fang Tian's brain instantly rebooted, reloading the information and playing back the scene frame by frame. Conclusion: Su Wan really had no idea. She thought that because she was oxygen deprived and moving around blindly, she had accidentally patted Fang Tian, and now she felt guilty. Meanwhile, his secret nudging had gone completely unnoticed. Fang Tian breathed a long sigh of relief in his heart. "It's fine, Godmother. It's not like you did it on purpose. Besides, a godmother patting her godson a couple of times isn't anything out of line, right?" Fang Tian said with a smile, pretending nothing was wrong while actually sitting down with extreme difficulty on a chair next to the dining table. Why with difficulty? Because he had to bend over. A certain part of his body was currently standing straight up. While standing, his shirt blocked it well enough, but once he sat down, the visual would be far too obvious. He quietly pulled his chair forward a bit, letting the edge of the dining table perfectly block his critical area. "Whoa, safe." Su Wan was still standing where she was, her fingers twisting together self-consciously, a thin blush dusting her face. Her eyes, still red from crying, combined with this girlish demeanor, made his heart itch no matter how he looked at her. In her panic, she also subconsciously tugged down her nightgown. This tug only made things worse, the already loose neckline slid down another notch. A pair of snowy white peaks was once again exposed to the air, even more generously and openly than before. Fang Tian even caught a glimpse of a pink edge at the periphery of those peaks. but it was only for an instant. Su Wan immediately pulled her nightgown back up, hiding the scenery once more, leaving only a faint, looming curve as if nothing had happened. Fang Tian immediately averted his gaze, lowering his head to pretend to study the wood grain on the tabletop. Anyway, keeping his head down was the right move. He had been single in his past life, but it was also a fact that he had seen plenty of action. As for why he hadn't had a girlfriend, with women around, who needed a girlfriend? And the original owner of this body in this life was a ruthless guy who could reward himself 10 times a day. With these two souls mixed together, how could he possibly become some pure, innocent boy? Physiologically he might be, but mentally he was already beyond redemption. Fang Tian fiercely despised himself in his heart for a second, then raised his head as if nothing had happened, offering a warm smile. "Godmother, have you not eaten either? Why don't we have some soup together? There's too much for me to finish alone anyway." Although the fire in his heart was already burning up to his throat, he knew very well that one had to take things one step at a time. Su Wan clearly knew nothing. In her eyes, he was still a frail, sickly young man who might not have fully recovered from depression and needed care and attention. She couldn't possibly have any improper thoughts about him. To win over Su Wan, he had to take things slow. "Sure. I'll join my godson and have some soup too." Su Wan broke into a smile through her tears, her eyes curving into crescents as she sat down across from Fang Tian. Fang Tian had already ladled out the black chicken soup. 2 bowls of black chicken soup were set neatly in place, one in front of him and one in front of Su Wan. The broth was clear, with a layer of glistening oil droplets floating on top, and its aroma drifted straight into their noses. Su Wan drank in small sips, occasionally looking up at Fang Tian with a look of inexplicable relief and tenderness in her eyes. Meanwhile, as Fang Tian drank his soup, he was thinking about something else. He had chosen option 3 just now, but the system hadn't issued the reward yet. Could it be lagging? Congratulations to the host for completing the option. Rewards obtained, 1 attribute points plus 1, personal attribute panel has been unlocked. 2 cash reward of 2000 yuan, which has been deposited into your bank card. The dialog box popped up and then quietly vanished. The spoon in Fang Tian's hand paused. The conclusion was clear. This dog system just wanted him to stray from the righteous path. "Tian Tian, why aren't you drinking? The soup won't taste good once it gets cold." Su Wan's voice pulled him back to reality. She had already finished more than half her bowl, her lips glistening with a touch of oil, looking rosy and plump. "I'm drinking right now." Fang Tian picked up the bowl and gulped it down in a few mouthfuls. Then, he glanced down beneath the edge of the dining table at the fellow who had yet to calm down. "I'll have to trouble you to endure it for a bit. My poor little brother." Chapter 4, Add Points. Give me more points. "Tian Tian, if there's anything, any problem at all, you can come to me, okay? Do you have enough money?" Su Wan stood at the door of Fang Tian's home, nagging him about every little detail like a biological mother. She had stepped into the role of godmother much faster than Fang Tian. "I know, godmother. I'll come to you if anything happens. I have enough money." Fang Tian scratched his head with a well-behaved smile, but he felt a bit awkward inside. In his past life, he was already in his 30s. Standing here now, being treated like a son and nagged by a petite woman who was barely older than him, the shift in roles was indeed a bit too drastic. Oh, by the way, his parents had also passed away in his previous life. Furthermore, now that he had calmed down, the embarrassment and regret of the sage time began to well up. What on earth had he just done? Holding her, saying it's okay, godmother, don't cry, while secretly pressing against her twice. Fang Tian asked himself, are you even human? Men were just like that before and during the act, they absolutely had to have it. Afterward, the sage possessed them, and they would be consumed by crazy guilt. He resolved in his heart, next time, he must absolutely not act like such a beast. But he had no confidence in how effective this resolution would actually be. All right, then your godmother won't stay any longer. I still have to go to work this afternoon. Su Wan was a civil servant in the Gusu district of Jiangsu province. In the original owner's memory, she seemed to be a director of some low-profile government office. She wasn't usually very busy and would come back for a lunch break whenever she had time. As for which department exactly, the original owner had never cared to find out. Moreover, she owned 3 properties in the residential community, the 25th, 26th, and 27th floors of Building 12. She had allegedly bought all 3 floors at once just because she was worried that neighbors upstairs or downstairs would be too noisy. A wealthy older sister was indeed willful. Fang Tian was utterly speechless at the original owner. Having lived here for 2 years, he hadn't even bothered to get close to such a great benefactor, instead spending every single day with his pile of anime figurines. You could have at least bought a life-sized one. What was the point of that pile of plastic figures that you could only look at but not use? He lamented his misfortune and was angered by his lack of ambition. Be careful on the road, godmother. And, thank you. All right, no need to be so polite with your godmother. I'm off. Su Wan waved her hand with a smile and turned to walk into the fire exit. She lived on the 26th floor, and Fang Tian lived on the 27th. Taking the stairs was even faster than taking the elevator. Only after watching Su Wan's petite figure disappear into the fire exit did Fang Tian close the door. The moment the door closed, the well-behaved smile on his face instantly vanished. System. He called out silently in his mind. No response. That's not right. He was a person with a system, there was no doubt about that. 3,000 yuan had indeed been credited to his bank card. But why was there no response when he called it now? Could this system be event-triggered? Only activating when specific people and events appeared? That was indeed a very aloof master. Fang Tian was displeased. The system was showering him with attribute points, so he at least needed to know what they were and where to assign them. Open attribute panel. He changed his keyword and called out silently again. This time, there was finally a response. A light blue light screen expanded before his eyes. The interface was so simple it looked as if no UI had been designed for it at all. It seemed the system's personality was straightforward, getting straight to the point without any nonsense. Fang Tian liked this style. Host information. Name, Fang Tian. Age, 24. Height, 179 centimeters. Weight, 131 jin. IQ, 72. EQ, 56. Stamina, 46. Charm, 55. X ability, 38. Although various star teachers have provided you with rich theoretical knowledge, and in your past life, loyal women praised you saying you're so great, big brother, in this life, your physical hardware is a fatal flaw. Your length, is only 8.54 centimeters when excited, not even reaching the average length for men. Available attribute points, 1. Fang Tian read from top to bottom, his gaze finally locking onto that long, detailed remark. Every other stat only got a dry number, so why did X ability get a whole 3 lines of explanation? And 8.54 centimeters? What was the point of being precise to 2 decimal places? Ever heard of rounding? 8.54 rounded up is 9, and rounded up again is 10 centimeters. A rock-solid double-digit number. Fang Tian took a deep breath, feeling deeply indignant. The overall panel was still quite clean. Except for the grayed out point allocation boxes next to name and age, the plus signs next to the other stats were all green. This meant he could add points. Then what was there to hesitate about? Using his consciousness, Fang Tian moved the cursor to the X ability column and clicked down hard. Add points. Give me more points. His X ability instantly jumped from 38 to 39. The remark refreshed accordingly, X ability, 39, although various star teachers have provided you with rich theoretical knowledge, and in your past life, loyal women praised you saying you're so great, big brother, in this life, your physical hardware is a fatal flaw. Your length is only 8.74 centimeters when excited, which is 0.2 centimeters more than before, but still hasn't reached the average length for men. 0.2 centimeters. A precious attribute point could only buy him 0.2 centimeters. Fang Tian quickly did some math in his head. To become an 18 centimeters beast, he would need at least 18 to 8.74, divided by 0.2 equals 46.3, which meant 47 attribute points. And that was without factoring in midway rewards or potential decay in length. The road ahead is long and arduous. Fang Tian sighed with emotion. He tried to continue exploring other functions of the system. A shop, a quest log, a lucky draw wheel, anything would do. He found absolutely nothing. It seemed the system had only activated the basic attribute panel function for now. Fine, he would take it step by step. Sometime past 3 in the afternoon, Fang Tian went out. Summer had just begun in Gusu, the sunshine was perfect, and the temperature hadn't reached a scorching level yet. Pedestrians on the street had already changed into light, cool outfits. Walking down the street, Fang Tian felt completely dazzled. It was a sea of fair, bare legs. Long skirts, shorts, dresses, bodycon skirts, all kinds of styles, all kinds of colors. Women, women, women everywhere he looked, there were women. Of course, there were men too, but Fang Tian's vision automatically filtered them out. This world was truly too blissful. In his past life, he had worked as a programmer, surrounded by rough guys all day, to the point where even a sow would start looking attractive. Suddenly stranded in a world with more women than men, he was indeed enjoying himself too much to think of home. Hey handsome, are you alone? Could I get your contact info? Fang Tian was busy appreciating the long legs of the beauties with a critical eye when a figure suddenly bounced in front of him. A girl in her early 20s with her hair in a bun and delicate makeup blinked at him. Waving her phone in her hand, she did her best to display her charm. In this world, men were few and women were many, making women far more proactive than those on Earth by more than an order of magnitude. Fang Tian was already used to it. He had gone out 3 times in 2 months, and every single time, he had been hit on. He sized up the girl from head to toe. Quite good looking, somewhere between a 60 and a 70. He looked further down. Well, her starting line was extremely flat. Faced with a strange woman hitting on you, your choice is 1. Say nothing and kiss her forcefully, letting her know that your contact info is not so easily obtained. 2. Reject her righteously. Look at yourself. Who can afford a pair of aces? Come back and see me after you get a breast enlargement. 3. Tactfully refuse her. 4. Say nothing. Just drool and chuckle foolishly. 5. Agree to her request and have dinner with her. The system had popped up a multiple choice question again. Fang Tian quickly scanned the options. Option 1 was an immediate pass. He had no interest in being invited to the police station for a chat. Option 3 was also a pass. The reward for choosing the decent option last time was only 1,000 yuan, which was too cost ineffective. Besides, he had no intention of getting to know this girl on a deeper level. Therefore, option 5 was out of the question. The system was absolutely right, a pair of aces was too rich for him. Now the problem was choosing between option 2 and option 4. Tell the truth, or play dumb. Option 4 was too ruinous to his image. By contrast, although telling the truth was rather wicked, it was at least decent. Fang Tian shuddered with mock gravity. With a serious expression and a sincere tone, he said, "I'm sorry, miss. You are very beautiful, but your chest, is too small. If possible, go get a breast enlargement, turn those aces into D cups, and then come back to find me." The smile on the girl's face visibly froze, shattered, and collapsed. "Bah! You motherf!" She placed her hands on her hips, took a deep breath, and unleashed her full fury. Although she had barely any flesh on her chest, she was full of vigor. Fang Tian turned and ran, giving her absolutely no chance to finish her sentence. No kidding, he hadn't read The Art of War in his past life for nothing. Of the 36 stratagems, fleeing is the best. Retreat immediately when the wind blows the wrong way. Chapter 5, A Proper Double-Digit Man. Congratulations to the host for completing the option. Reward obtained, attribute points plus 3,000 yuan in cash, already deposited into your bank account. The system settlement interface popped up, and Fang Tian smiled. As expected, it was exactly as he had predicted. The underlying logic of the dog system could be summed up in 8 words: the less human you act, the fatter the reward. Option 1, that top-tier beastly move of forcefully kissing her directly, was highly likely the tier with the richest rewards. But the subsequent trouble would also be the greatest, and Fang Tian didn't want to get involved in that kind of mess. His strategy was very clear: find the optimal solution between profit and risk, choosing options that could yield high rewards without causing him to crash and burn. Fang Tian was currently at a famous influencer milk tea shop nearby. He hadn't had milk tea in a long time. Milk tea could make you gain weight, but drink it anyway. So, he queued at the very back and used his phone to scan the code and order in advance. Several girls in line noticed him, and their gazes instantly glued onto him. Fang Tian felt those burning gazes and felt a bit smug inside. This world is just too great. When Fang Tian left the milk tea shop, besides gaining a cup of brown sugar boba tea, he also gained 2 attribute points, 4,000 yuan, and the eye rolls of 4 girls. They had come together to ask Fang Tian for his contact information. They were likely good friends traveling together. To avoid being mobbed by them, Fang Tian chose a relatively gentle way to refuse. He had thought there would only be monetary rewards, he hadn't expected to be able to burst out attribute points. It seemed that even the most conservative options could yield attribute points, though the probability was a bit low. Carrying the cup of brown sugar boba tea, Fang Tian strolled around the street, feeling the early summer evening breeze and watching the long, fair legs all over the street, feeling incredibly good. Upon returning home, his first order of business was to open the attribute panel. Without hesitation, he dumped all the attribute points into the X ability column. Whatever IQ or EQ. Those could wait. For a man, physical development was the top priority. If the hardware didn't meet the standard, what was the use of having high EQ? All in. The number in the X ability column jumped a few times and finally settled at 45. The notes also refreshed accordingly. X ability, 45, although various celebrity teachers have provided you with rich theoretical knowledge, and in your previous life, a loyal woman praised you saying, "Brother, you are so great, in this life, your physical hardware is a fatal flaw. Your length even when excited, is only. Keep it up, you are still 2 attribute points away from 10 centimeters. Of course, there is still a significant distance from the average length. Just 2 more attribute points. Just 2 more, and he could break through the psychological threshold of double digits." But then again, no wonder Su Wan didn't have any reaction when he pressed against her last time. It was so short, through 2 layers of fabric, how could she feel anything? Sigh, if the hardware doesn't meet the standard, he just had to work hard to grind for attribute points. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. In these 48 hours, Fang Tian transformed into a street score grinding machine. He specifically dove into crowded places, commercial streets, university towns, influencer check-in spots. Wherever there were girls, he was there. The harvest was fruitful, 7 attribute points 23,000 yuan in cash. And one slap. Yes, that's right. Within those 23,000, 10,000 was compensation. This is how it happened. Fang Tian met a stylish older sister on the pedestrian street, looking to be about 27 or 28, with exquisite makeup and a hot figure. She came up and demanded to add Fang Tian's contact information, her attitude quite aggressive, shoving her phone almost into his face. The system also promptly popped up a multiple-choice question. Fang Tian scanned it and chose the most violent refusal line that was still within legal limits. With a smile on his face and a sincere tone, he said word by word, "Sister, although you are quite pretty, you have already asked 48 men for their contact information today. What, are you trying to film a multi-person movie and looking for the male leads?" He hadn't finished speaking yet. Just heard a crisp slap. Fang Tian only felt his left cheek go numb, his head buzzing. He had been careless. He was too busy recalling the lines provided by the system, forgot to observe the other party's body movements, and didn't dodge. That older sister's hand strength was truly not small. Pervert. Degenerate. After slapping him, the older sister wanted to continue outputting. Fang Tian didn't say a word, pulled out his phone, and called the police. The police arrived very quickly. It was a policewoman, around 30, wearing a crisp police uniform, and she was incredibly good-looking. Her features were heroic yet feminine, her figure set off by the police uniform as sharp and capable. And she walked with a brisk, imposing air. In this world where there are more women than men, men are a scarce resource and belong to the protected group. Plus, this matter was initiated by the woman, so the policewoman's handling was quite biased toward Fang Tian. The final mediation result, the woman paid 10,000 yuan in compensation, plus a verbal apology. Fang Tian covered his burning left cheek and magnanimously expressed his forgiveness. A slap in exchange for 3 attribute points and 10,000 yuan, this deal was a huge profit. When that older sister left, she was still muttering, something about little ferryman and men flirting policewomen, her eyes full of dissatisfaction. As it turned out, after the policewoman finished handling the case, she also took out her phone and said to Fang Tian, "You should add my contact information too, if there are any follow-up issues, contact me anytime." Fang Tian didn't say a word and took out his phone. Don't misunderstand. He was so straightforward for 2 reasons. First, the policewoman was indeed very good-looking. There was a mature woman's gentleness within her heroic air, and when she smiled, her eyes curved slightly, with a small tear mole at the corner of her eye, adding a touch of charm. Second, he was afraid that if he didn't agree, the policewoman would handcuff him and take him back to the station to see something good. Why did he inexplicably feel that wouldn't be bad? After adding each other as friends, they went their separate ways. Fang Tian returned home, opened the attribute panel again, and dumped all 7 newly accumulated attribute points into X ability. He watched the number jump all the way from 45 to 52. X ability, 52, although various celebrity teachers have provided you with rich theoretical knowledge, and in your previous life, a loyal woman praised you saying, "Brother, you are so great, in this life, your physical hardware is a fatal flaw. Your length when excited, is only 11.14 centimeters. Congratulations, through your unremitting efforts, you have reached a level that is barely enough." Fang Tian stared at the number on the screen, a sense of pride welling up. 11.14 centimeters. No need to round up anymore. He was now a proper double-digit man. Although barely enough didn't sound very good, either. He was just preparing to feel for himself in reality just how long 11.14 centimeters was, and to watch something good to reward himself. He hadn't rewarded himself in over 2 months. What was wrong with rewarding himself by watching something good? Knock, knock, knock. Tian Tian, are you home? It's Godmother. Su Wan's voice came through the door panel, gentle and soft, with a hint of anxiety. Fang Tian glanced at his phone. Good heavens, it was already past 6 in the evening. Su Wan had sent him 3 WeChat messages, and he hadn't seen a single one. He retied his waistband, which he hadn't had time to fully undo, and walked quickly to open the door. As soon as the door opened, Fang Tian was momentarily dazed. Su Wan was dressed completely differently from last time. She wore a dark gray professional suit, tailored perfectly outlining her petite yet curvaceous figure. Inside the suit jacket was a white silk shirt, slightly bulging from the curve of her chest. On her lower body were matching suit trousers, the crease straight, setting off her long and well-proportioned legs. On her feet were black pointed high heels, revealing her fair insteps. Her hair wasn't tied into a bun today but tied into a low ponytail. A few stray hairs were dampened by sweat, sticking to her temples and long neck, making her skin look even more radiant. Her chest rose and fell slightly with her breathing. She had clearly rushed over. Godmother sent you 3 messages, why didn't you reply to any of them? Seeing Fang Tian standing safely at the doorway, Su Wan let out a long sigh of relief, then gave him a charming, flirtatious glare. That look, filled with blame mixed with concern, and a touch of grievance, was extremely lethal. Fang Tian's heart skipped a beat. He quickly averted his gaze and scratched his head. Ah, Godmother, sorry. I was just reading a book, and my phone was on silent, so I didn't hear it. When an elder blames you for not being able to contact you, the 4 words I was reading can solve 95% of the trouble. Sure enough, upon hearing the words reading, the expression on Su Wan's face immediately changed from blame to joy. Her eyes curved into crescents, and she smiled very gently. Reading is good. You child should read more books now. Learning some knowledge from books and adjusting your mood and emotions is better than anything else. Reading is good, really good. Her tone carried a kind of motherly gratification, and she reached out to gently pat Fang Tian's arm. Fang Tian felt a bit guilty. He had clearly just been calculating how to watch something good for himself, but in Su Wan's words, he had become a diligent and studious, inspirational young man. However, guilt was guilt, and Fang Tian quickly shifted his attention. With this pat, Su Wan's body leaned forward slightly, and the neckline of her suit opened up a bit. The white shirt inside was pulled tight, and between the buttons, a faint shadow could be vaguely seen. Fang Tian quickly took a couple of extra looks. By the way, Tian Tian. After patting his arm, Su Wan put her hands behind her back, leaned forward slightly, and looked up at him, her posture playful and cute, not at all like someone in her 30s. Today is Friday, and Godmother is off tomorrow and the day after. Do you want to eat with me? I just happened to buy groceries. She had just gotten off work and hadn't even changed out of her suit before rushing over to knock on Fang Tian's door, just to ask this. A wave of warmth surged in Fang Tian's heart. Godmother is really great. He couldn't let his mind wander. Okay, Godmother, I haven't eaten yet either. Fang Tian grinned, revealing a clean, good boy smile that suited his appearance. Then let's go, to Godmother's place. Su Wan turned around happily, walked 2 steps, then turned back and pointed at the slippers on Fang Tian's feet. Change your shoes, don't wear slippers downstairs. Received. Fang Tian stood at attention and gave a non-standard salute, amusing Su Wan so much that she laughed and patted him. The two walked one after the other into the fire escape, their footsteps echoing in the stairwell. Su Wan's high heels clicked crisply on the steps. Fang Tian followed behind, his gaze involuntarily landing on Su Wan's back. The suit skirt tightly wrapped around her hips, swaying slightly with each step down, the lines round and smooth. He took a deep breath. So beautiful, really so beautiful. Fang Tian, who had just thought he shouldn't let his mind wander, immediately threw that thought into the trash can. Chapter 6, Not Treating Me Like an Outsider. The original owner had visited Su Wan's home a few times over the past 2 years. Yes, only a few times. And that was only after Su Wan called, messaged, and even came to his door to corner him repeatedly, until he couldn't make any more excuses and reluctantly came over to sit for a while. After eating, he would wipe his mouth and slip back to his own nest upstairs. When Fang Tian flipped through this part of the memories, he could only give the original owner a silent "Brother, go in peace, I won't see you off. With your emotional intelligence, you'd be single until you die." "Oh right, you actually were single until you died?" Fang Tian followed Su Wan through the door. His first impression, fragrant. It wasn't that kind of overpowering perfume scent, but rather a faint, warm, homely atmosphere. It was like the scent of soap left on clothes that had been washed and dried in the sun, mixed with a hint of floral fragrance drifting from somewhere unknown. It smelled wonderful. The layout of the room was exactly the same as the one Fang Tian lived in, but the decor was vastly different. Thick linen curtains hung on the balcony, half drawn, allowing a glimpse of the hazy night scenery outside through the gap. A row of wooden photo frames sat on the shoe cabinet in the hallway, placed casually, with a few slightly tilted. The photos were all of Su Wan, there were solo shots and group photos with others, all smiling brightly. In the corner by the TV wall sat a potted pothos, its vines having already quietly climbed up half the white wall, lush and green, growing vigorously. Next to the sofa sat an old-fashioned rocking chair with a neatly folded fleece blanket draped over it, looking very comfortable. Fang Tian looked down at the pair of slippers he had changed into. Then, he noticed a detail he had previously overlooked. The pair of men's slippers that Su Wan took out from the shoe cabinet was placed right next to her own pink pair. The toes faced outward, placed neatly, it was clearly their designated spot. He had worn this same pair during his previous visits. These weren't prepared for guests. These were slippers that belonged exclusively to him. A wave of warmth surged in Fang Tian's heart, and his throat felt a little dry. In his previous life, he worked odd jobs, his parents were deceased, and he had no permanent home, so he had never experienced the feeling of being cared for in daily life by someone. Godmother really did cherish him like a son. "You sit for a while, Godmother will go change clothes and then start cooking." Su Wan changed into her slippers and said this to him while walking toward the bedroom, turning back as she spoke. Fang Tian obediently walked to the sofa but hadn't sat down yet. Then, the system's dialog box popped up. "The beautiful Godmother is going to the bedroom to change clothes. Your choice is 1. Smile cheekily at Godmother and say, 'Godmother, I need to change clothes too, how about we change together?' 2. Smile cheekily at Godmother and say, 'Godmother, it's quite inconvenient for you to change clothes alone, let me help you. I'm very quick and good at changing clothes.' 3. Appear calm on the surface, but secretly plan to peek while Godmother changes clothes. 4. Do nothing and sit obediently on the sofa." Fang Tian read the 4 options word for word, his facial expression quite colorful. This system was truly perverted. Su Wan was genuinely good to him. If he were to do something like options 1, 2, or 3, would he even be human? Options 1, 2, 3. Fang Tian gave himself a mental slap, furious that he had even hesitated, and then decisively chose option 4. He sat honestly on the sofa, but after a while, his body became involuntarily honest. His eyes completely refused to listen to his commands, glancing toward the bedroom door every 2 seconds. His brain, even more uncontrollably, began playing scenes from a little movie. It wasn't that he wanted to play them. It was all because of the suggestion from option 3 of the system. As for the little movies, the plots were all standard tropes. The father is very wealthy and marries a stepmother around the same age as the protagonist. The father is old and frail, the stepmother is left lonely in the empty room, and can only secretly take care of it herself. Then one day, the protagonist comes home early, passes by the master bedroom door, hears sounds that shouldn't be heard, and sees images that shouldn't be seen. Stop. Fang Tian slammed on the brakes in his mind. He was really not a good person. Godmother went in to change clothes, not to do anything else. He sat uneasily on the sofa for a few minutes. With a creak, the bedroom door opened. Fang Tian looked up subconsciously, and then his eyes went wide. Su Wan had changed out of that dark gray professional suit and was wearing a seemingly ordinary floral dress. But in reality, it was anything but ordinary. The dress had a light blue base, scattered with small white daisies. The material was that kind of thin cotton linen, form-fitting yet breathable, loosely wrapping around her petite body. The most lethal part was the design of the chest. The neckline was cut extremely low in a deep V shape, and that expanse of snowy white peaks was unceremoniously exposed by nearly half. The deep cleavage between the two mountains was exceptionally proud under the outline of the neckline. As she walked over, her chest swayed slightly with each step. Swaying without any restraint. Fang Tian suddenly realized a fact: Godmother wasn't wearing a bra. The hem of the dress was also very short, short enough to cover only half of her thighs. The rest, along with her slender and well-proportioned calves below the knees, were completely exposed to the air. Although Su Wan wasn't tall, her proportions were excellent, her legs were long and straight, and her skin was dazzlingly white under the living room lights. She wore those pink house slippers on her feet, with her green painted toes exposed, round and cute. She walked up to Fang Tian just like that, fresh, clean, and completely unguarded. Su Wan naturally noticed Fang Tian's intense gaze, looked down at herself in confusion, and then looked up to ask, "Tian Tian, what's wrong? Why do you keep staring at Godmother?" "Oh, this is the first time Godmother has worn a dress in front of me. I think it looks really good." Fang Tian quietly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Although he had been caught peeking, he didn't blush or skip a beat, and his expression and tone remained very steady. "Nonsense. Godmother is already 35, what's good looking about that?" Su Wan complained reproachfully, but her eyes had already crinkled into crescents, and the curve of her lips couldn't be suppressed. Being complimented by a young man clearly made her extremely happy. Moreover, she specifically turned around lightly, as if to show off her new clothes. "But this dress is indeed quite nice, I just bought it at the mall a few days ago." This turn was something else. The hem of the skirt lifted slightly, revealing more of her plump thighs. And then, Fang Tian saw something else. A flash of passionate, fiery red lace. It was faintly visible at the back of the dress, the edges outlining the shape of her rounded curves. Good heavens! No bra on top, but she was wearing something on the bottom, and it was this kind of style. "Godmother, you really don't treat me like an outsider." "Godmother, if I didn't know there was a generation gap between us, you would look like you're about the same age as me." Fang Tian's tone was aggrieved yet sincere. This flattery was delivered so lightly and softly, from a tricky angle, with precise force. Su Wan was indeed amused, turned back, and stopped in front of him. A faint, fragrant breeze drifted over with her. This time he recognized it. It wasn't perfume, but the scent of body wash, mixed with the warmth of a woman's body temperature. "What nonsense are you talking about? You're over 10 years younger than me, I'm your mother's best friend, and by generation, I'm your Aunt Sue, your godmother. About the same age? You just know how to make Godmother happy." Su Wan laughed until her eyes narrowed, reached out her hand, and affectionately patted Fang Tian's head as if petting a puppy. Her hand was soft, warm, and dry. As her fingertips passed through his hair, Fang Tian only felt a tingling sensation from his scalp down to the back of his neck. His courage suddenly grew. I'm not trying to make you happy. I really have always thought Aunt Su is very beautiful and very charming. Fang Tian looked up at her, his gaze earnest and open. Su Wan's hand stopped, resting on top of his head, looking down at him. The two were very close, close enough that Fang Tian could clearly see the tiny smile lines at the corners of her eyes and his own face reflected in her almond-shaped eyes. The air was quiet for 2 seconds. All right, you child. Su Wan retracted her hand, a faint flush on her face, her tone as gentle as always. When did you learn to sweet-talk women like this? She walked to the kitchen doorway, turned back, and smiled at him. Wait, Godmother will make you something delicious. Fang Tian sat on the sofa, watching her back as she walked into the kitchen. The hem of her floral dress swayed gently with her steps, and those dazzlingly white calves were exceptionally alluring under the kitchen lights. Little Fang Tian was stirring again. Congratulations to the host for completing the option. Reward received, attribute points +1, 500 yuan in cash, already deposited into your bank account. Fang Tian looked down at the system notification, then looked up at Su Wan busy in the kitchen. He suddenly felt that although option 4 had fewer rewards, it seemed pretty good too. At least he could still sit here openly and honestly, instead of being chased out of the house by Su Wan wielding a spatula. Chapter 7, Open a little wider. Chapter 7, Open a little wider. Beautiful Godmother is making dinner in the kitchen. What is your choice now? 1. Become a foreman and yell at her, can you be a bit faster? Hurry up, this master is hungry. 2. Take photos of her graceful body to accumulate material, at least 10, for late night needs. 3. Take the initiative to help Godmother cook and interact with her. 4. Laugh to the sky and walk out the door. Are we the type to just be rice eaters? This meal, I won't eat it. The system always emphasizes its presence whenever it faces Su Wan. Sure enough, the selection box popped up again. Fang Tian rubbed his chin and fell into deep thought. He was contemplating a technical question: can one make multiple selections? Options 1 and 4, directly pass. One is courting death, the other is being an idiot. But options 2 and 3 don't seem to conflict, do they? After taking photos, he could help Godmother cook. Theoretically, it is completely possible to do both. It's just that he didn't know if the system supported multiple choices. Give it a try. Fang Tian's courage was growing bolder and bolder now. He picked up his phone and walked to the kitchen door with a chuckle. Su Wan was standing in front of the stove with her back to him, wearing an off-white apron. The apron strings were tied into a bow behind her waist, right at the narrowest part, pulling the waistline of her floral dress even tighter. Half of her plump, fair thighs were exposed below the hem of the dress, glowing with a soft luster under the warm yellow kitchen lights. She was looking down, chopping carrots, with loose hair sliding from behind her ears, swaying gently with the motion of chopping. The shoulder straps of the apron wrapped around her neck, forming a subtle angle with the deep V-neck of her dress, making that patch of snow-white skin faintly visible. Godmother, I've been reading a few books on photography lately. Could you cooperate and let me take a few photos of you? Fang Tian leaned against the kitchen door frame and smiled, his tone very natural. Su Wan turned back and rolled her eyes at him, the kitchen knife in her hand not stopping. What nonsense are you spouting, child? I'm cooking. We'll talk about photos after I finish cooking. Oh, Godmother, if it's late, I'll lose my inspiration. Fang Tian used his trump card, acting spoiled. Your outfit right now looks especially good against the kitchen background, especially this dress paired with the apron, it looks absolutely stunning. Please, I beg you. What was Fang Tian's greatest advantage when facing Su Wan? It was his youth. A young man in his early 20s, with a delicate and well-behaved face, he had no psychological burden when acting spoiled. Although he was an iron-blooded soldier king in his past life, he adapted to his current situation. A new identity requires learning new skills, it's not shameful. Sigh, a big guy in his 20s still acting spoiled, you really have no shame. Su Wan looked at Fang Tian's appearance and shook her head helplessly, but the corners of her mouth were already curving up. All right, wait until I finish chopping this carrot. Hee, Godmother is the best. Right, Godmother, pretend you're looking for something in the cupboard, tilt your head up a bit, reach your hand higher. Right, just like that, fantastic. Su Wan stood slightly on tiptoes, tilting her head at 45 degrees, and reached out an arm, pretending to reach for a bowl in the cupboard above. The apron strings tightened slightly due to this posture, and the curves of her waist were outlined even more clearly. The hem of her dress retracted a bit with the tiptoeing motion, revealing more of her thighs. Her neck was stretched long due to this upward tilting posture, and the line from her jaw to her collarbone was smooth and beautiful. The deep V-neck of the floral dress opened slightly at this angle, and that deep cleavage was filled with the kitchen lights, the contrast between shadow and light being particularly striking. Fang Tian pressed the shutter repeatedly. It had to be said that every move Su Wan made was absolutely beautiful. He didn't need to direct her movements at all, every frame was a stunning photograph. Okay, 5 photos are done. Want to take a few more? Fang Tian asked tentatively. Let Godmother see how they turned out first. Su Wan lowered her arm, walked to Fang Tian's right side, and leaned in close to him. She leaned in very close, her chest and body pressing against his right arm, staring fixedly at the phone screen. Fang Tian naturally knew what she wanted to see and started flipping through them one by one for her. This wasn't his own skill, it was the original owner's. The original owner was a genuine otaku. A veteran of comic cons, his phone contained over 5,000 pictures of cosplayer girls and hundreds of videos of them. Fang Tian had already saved them to the computer hard drive for the original owner. He would decide whether to delete them after looking through them. His photography skills were quite solid. The composition, lighting, and angles were all handled perfectly. When flipping through the photos, Fang Tian's elbow swayed slightly, and with every sway, it sank into a soft area and then popped out again. He, of course, knew what that was. He didn't say anything, just quietly increased the range of motion of his elbow a little more. Tian Tian, you take great photos. Send me these ones. Su Wan pointed her finger at the screen, her fingertips painted with pink nail polish sliding over a few photos, completely unaware of the small movements of Fang Tian's elbow. She leaned in even closer. Her body scent, the lingering smell of perfume, and the mix of kitchen fumes rushed into Fang Tian's nostrils, making him somewhat distracted and restless. Sure. Do you want me to take a few more for Godmother? The normal 5 photos were finished, it was time for something with a slightly larger scale. Everyone, don't misunderstand, this is all for the mission. Option 2 clearly stated to accumulate material for late-night needs. So these photos definitely couldn't all be proper and conventional. Fang Tian's reasoning was reasonable and logical, he couldn't help but give himself a thumbs up in his heart. Alright, anyway, we haven't started stir-frying yet, so let's take a few more. Su Wan was very happy, Fang Tian's photos really captured her beautifully. Women, who doesn't like looking beautiful? Then Godmother, let's change poses. Fang Tian stepped back 2 paces and raised his phone again, his expression serious, like a professional photographer. Turn around, put your hands on the edge of the cupboard, lean your body forward slightly, and look back at me. Right, just that kind of casual glance back. Su Wan turned around, placed both hands on the edge of the cupboard, and leaned her body forward slightly. This posture tightened the lines of her buttocks, the fabric of the floral dress clinging to the two rounded curves, outlining the full curves unique to a mature woman. She turned her head back, her profile facing Fang Tian's lens. Her almond-shaped eyes slightly narrowed, a smile on the corners of her mouth. Click. Perfect. Godmother, the next one might be a little difficult. Stand sideways to me, one hand resting on the stove, the other hanging naturally, and push your hips out slightly to the side. The side-facing posture made Su Wan's body curves visible at a glance. The curve of her chest, the indentation of her waist, and the swell of her hips, outlined by both the apron and the floral dress, formed a breathtaking S-shaped line. Click, click. Fang Tian's courage expanded again. Godmother, one more. Sit on that high stool, lean your body back, one hand resting behind you, the other hand on your thigh. Spread your legs a little, not too much, just a little bit. Su Wan sat on the high stool in the corner of the kitchen, leaned back, and rested one hand behind her. This posture caused her chest to naturally perk up, the deep V-neck stretched to its limit, that patch of snow-white skin almost ready to burst out. She placed her hand on her thigh, and the hem of the floral dress retracted another bit due to the sitting posture, her thighs almost completely exposed to the air, blindingly white. Spread your legs a little more. Fang Tian held up his phone, his voice steady as a rock. Su Wan's legs moved slightly, but they soon closed again. She rolled her eyes at Fang Tian. You child, why do you have so many requirements for taking a photo? Godmother, this is photography, it's all about lines and composition. Fang Tian's expression was serious, his tone professional. In your current posture, the lines of your legs aren't stretched out enough, so it won't look good in the photo. Su Wan hesitated for a moment. Fang Tian's words indeed made sense, and his expression was so serious, as if he were really just discussing photography. Then, like this. Su Wan's legs parted slightly, probably only by a few centimeters. That's better. Just open them a little bit more. Su Wan bit her lower lip and glared at him, but in the end, she still spread her legs slightly more. The hem of the floral dress formed a subtle inverted V at this angle. Between those plump, fair thighs, one could vaguely see the shadows deep within the hem of the dress. Although nothing could be seen, that elusive feeling was more blood-pumping than seeing anything directly. If not, open a little wider? Chapter 8, Would you like to live with me? Fang Tian ultimately restrained the crazier impulse in his heart. He could not let Godmother spread her legs any further. If he did it again, she would definitely notice something was off. You cannot rush a good thing. So, he pressed the shutter again. With a click, although his fingers were trembling slightly, the photo still turned out clear and beautiful. All right, that's enough photos, right? Su Wan stood up from the bar stool, tugged at the hem of her skirt, and a faint blush appeared on her face. She reached out and lightly tapped Fang Tian on the shoulder. It was not hard, carrying a hint of playful reproach. You child, just take the photos, why do they get weirder the more you take? Godmother, what's weird about this? These are all normal photography poses. If you don't believe me, look at the results. Fang Tian handed over the phone, his expression sincere. At that moment, it seemed like there was only a pure pursuit of art in his eyes. As for the movement of little Fang Tian inside his pants, that was a different matter, unrelated to art. Su Wan took the phone and flipped through it. The blush on her face deepened, but the smile in her eyes grew warmer. The photos were indeed well taken, every single one captured her as both alluring and dignified. It's all right, I guess. Her tone was understated, but the curve of her lips betrayed her. Send them to me and then delete them. You can keep them for yourself, but you're not allowed to show anyone else, and definitely don't post them online. She stuffed the phone back into Fang Tian's hand and poked his forehead with her finger. Then she turned towards the stove. Are you done shooting? I still need to cook. Godmother, there's one last pose. Once we finish this one, we're done. Su Wan looked back at him, her gaze wary yet helpless. What else is there? Squat in front of the fridge, pretending to reach for something on the bottom shelf. Place your hands on your knees, lean forward slightly, and look up at me. Su Wan froze for a moment, then glared at him fiercely. No. This pose is too suggestive. I'm not doing it. She turned around, facing away from Fang Tian to fiddle with the ingredients on the stove, but the tips of her ears were red. Those small earlobes were as red as two little cherries, standing out vividly under the kitchen lights. Fang Tian did not give up. Although the number of photos taken was already far more than 10, he wanted to test Su Wan's bottom line a bit more. A bottom line, after all, is something that retreats step by step. He walked behind Su Wan and said in a pitiful, aggrieved tone, Godmother, we've already taken so many, just one last one left. Please just cooperate, and once we're done, I'll help you in the kitchen. No means no. Godmother. Fang Tian elongated the end of his sentence and tugged at the strings of Su Wan's apron. He knew how lethal his delicate, obedient face could be when he acted spoiled. Sigh, you really are. Su Wan's body swayed from his tug, and the apron string came undone on one side, hanging askew at her waist. She turned around to look at his pitiful expression, her lips moved, and she sighed, just one. After that, you are not allowed to push your luck. I promise. Su Wan walked to the fridge, hesitated for 2 seconds, and then slowly squatted down. She placed her hands on her knees, leaned forward slightly, and looked up at Fang Tian's lens. This pose left the deep V-neckline completely open, the snowy mountains within almost entirely exposed, with only the lowest point of the fabric barely covering the most critical area. That deep cleavage extended from the neckline deep into the fabric, the full curves on either side squeezed slightly together under the wrapping of the floral fabric. The squatting position pulled the hem of her skirt up to the tops of her thighs. Her plump legs were bent, knees together, with her calves slightly parted. Her feet, painted with green nail polish, were tucked into slippers, the curve of her arches appearing faintly. She looked up, a hint of shyness in her almond-shaped eyes, her lips slightly pursed, like a little deer backed into a corner. Click. Fang Tian pressed the shutter, then immediately put away his phone, turned around, and went to the sink to wash vegetables, saying loudly, all right, we're done. Godmother, let me help you in the kitchen. Know when to quit. He had to stop now. Little Fang Tian was already standing at attention. If he didn't find a stove to hide behind, he would be caught red-handed by Su Wan. Su Wan stood up from the floor and straightened her skirt and apron. As she walked over, she deliberately flicked water from her wet hands onto Fang Tian's face. Watching Fang Tian wipe his face in a flustered state, she could not suppress a smile. I will never believe your nonsense again. Fang Tian wiped the water off his face and grinned. Future problems could wait for the future. All right. Let's eat. Su Wan placed the last dish, blanched lettuce, on the dining table. The meal was ready. Sweet and sour pork ribs, garlic broccoli, blanched lettuce, plus a pot of tomato egg drop soup, simple but fragrant, the taste of home. It's been a while since I've tasted Godmother's cooking. I'm digging in. Fang Tian picked up his chopsticks and impatiently grabbed a piece of rib. The ribs were stewed until tender. As soon as the chopsticks touched them, the meat fell off the bone. He took a bite, and the sweet and sour sauce exploded in his mouth. He could not help but squint his eyes. It turned out that the system did not support multiple choices. When Fang Tian was helping Su Wan in the kitchen, the task completion notification popped up. 3. Attribute points 5,000 yuan. It was clearly the reward for option 2 being settled separately. However, Fang Tian did not mind. He had helped Godmother take photos and cooked with her, their relationship was steadily improving. Slow down while you eat. Su Wan sat opposite him, one hand propping up her chin, watching Fang Tian eat mouthful by mouthful. Having someone around was really nice. It had been a long time since the sound of bowls and chopsticks clinking had echoed in this house at dinner time. Every time she came home from work, the empty room, the table for one even eating had become a mechanical task that needed to be completed. But today was different. There was a young man wolfing down his food sitting across from her, his cheeks bulging as he ate, like a hamster storing grain. The smell of cooking oil still drifted from the kitchen where the stove had just been turned off, and the living room lights were bright. More importantly, she could feel that Fang Tian had truly changed. It was not a feigned cheerfulness, not a forced "I'm fine." There was light in his eyes. He had gained some weight, he would act spoiled with her, he would shamelessly ask her to pose for all sorts of strange photos, and he would look at her with those sparkling eyes and tell her she was beautiful. His illness seemed to be genuinely improving. This was what made her the happiest. Although Su Wan and Fang Tian's biological mother were not childhood best friends, they had known each other for over 10 years. It could be said that she had watched Fang Tian grow up step by step. What a good child, handsome, did well in school, but his fate was just a bit bitter. So, after the incident happened, she did not hesitate to take Fang Tian in. Then, she watched helplessly as he became depressed day by day. He went from being fat as a ball to skin and bones, locking himself in his room without going out, curtains drawn tight, unwilling to even see the light. She knocked on the door, he would not open it. She sent messages, he would not reply. She left cooked meals at the door, and when she checked the next day, they were untouched. She was very sad too. But what could she do? She had tried persuading him, she had tried comforting him. He would say, "It's fine, Aunt Sue, I'm fine," but there was no light in his eyes. Things like this, in the end, one can only walk out of on their own. Fortunately, this child had pulled through. He started going out, started eating properly, started smiling, started acting spoiled. What a good, handsome child, he should live healthily under the sun. As Su Wan thought about this, her eyes reddened. "Godmother? Why aren't you eating? Hey! Don't cry." Fang Tian was enjoying the sweet and sour pork ribs when he noticed Su Wan's gaze lingering on him, so he looked up. He discovered that Su Wan's eyes were brimming with tears, and with a blink of her lashes, a teardrop rolled down. He quickly put down his chopsticks and walked over to Su Wan. Before he could even stand steady, Su Wan suddenly wrapped her arms around his waist. Her face pressed against his stomach, her shoulders trembling slightly. "It's okay, Tian Tian. Godmother is just too happy. I'm crying out of happiness." Her voice was muffled, carrying a sob. "You've suffered. For so long, you've suffered." She hugged him very tightly, as if afraid that Fang Tian would vanish the next second. His heart was gently struck by something. It was touched. A pure sense of being moved, unrelated to desire. This woman had no blood relation to him, yet she had never given up on him during his worst times. Fang Tian reached out and gently patted Su Wan's back. Her shoulder bones were delicate, soft to the touch, and through the thin fabric of the floral dress, he could feel the temperature of the skin beneath. His outer thigh brushed against the softness of her chest, but this time, he treated it like air. "It's okay, Godmother. It's all in the past." Fang Tian's voice became uncharacteristically serious, deep, and gentle. "I have you now, it's very good." Su Wan's sobbing stopped for a moment, then she hugged him even tighter. After a long while, she finally let go and took the tissue Fang Tian handed her to wipe her eyes. Her mascara had smudged a little, leaving a faint patch of black at the corner of her eye. She sniffled, looked up at Fang Tian, her eyes red, her nose tip also red, yet she insisted on squeezing out a smile. Tian Tian, shall we go for a checkup this weekend? I want to know how much you've improved. You haven't been to a checkup in a long time. Okay. Fang Tian nodded in agreement, without hesitation. He also needed to shed the label of depression as soon as possible. Although he knew that the soul inside this body was no longer the one sunken in sadness, to outsiders, he was just a patient who had just emerged from depression. If he did not remove this label, it would be inconvenient to do anything in the future. Finding a job, socializing, everything would be affected. Although the system's tasks paid generously, he still wanted to find a job. Some things could not rely entirely on the system. There's one more thing. Su Wan crumpled the tissue into a ball in her palm, hesitated for a few seconds, as if organizing her words. Tian Tian, before, your condition wasn't good, and Godmother did not dare to bring it up. But now I see you've improved a lot, and I want to ask you. She looked up, her almond eyes still red, but her gaze was earnest and gentle. Would you be willing to move down and live with Godmother? Huh? Fang Tian was stunned. Chapter 9, Godmother, you are so beautiful. Fang Tian never expected Su Wan to take the initiative to suggest living together. Seeing him stunned, Su Wan quickly added, you don't have to answer me right now. Think about it. Living with Godmother makes it easier for me to take care of you, and there will be someone in the house to talk to. Being all alone upstairs might not be good for your recovery. Godmother is truly worried. It's okay if you don't want to move, Godmother won't force you. After she finished speaking, she stood up and pretended to go to the kitchen to get a soup ladle, leaving Fang Tian sitting alone at the dining table. Fang Tian watched Su Wan's back. She was wearing that floral dress with a low neckline, an apron tied crookedly, pink slippers on her feet, and she was pretending to be busy at the stove with a soup ladle in her hand. The tips of her ears were red like a young girl's, and the stray hairs at the nape of her neck were slightly curled, looking fuzzy in the light. Fang Tian lowered his head and took a glance at the little Fang Tian under the table that had finally calmed down, then looked back at the table full of home-cooked dishes, and the woman in the kitchen waiting for his answer. Okay, I'll move in, he said loudly. Any hesitation for even a second would be a disrespect to his own heart. He was a man who followed his heart. From the kitchen came the sound of a soup ladle dropping into a pot, a crisp sound. Then came Su Wan's voice, unable to suppress her laughter, her voice trembling slightly, then Godmother will help you pack your things tomorrow. The two of them finished their meal in a harmonious atmosphere. Su Wan had a better appetite than usual, and Fang Tian even added 2 bowls of rice and a steamed bun. He wiped the sweet and sour pork plate clean with the bun, and Su Wan couldn't help but laugh as she watched him. After the meal, the two curled up on the sofa to watch TV. It was an urban romance drama that Su Wan had been following recently. The male lead was a domineering CEO, the female lead was a naive, foolish, sweet girl, and the plot was so melodramatic that Fang Tian's worldview was almost shattered. But he still patiently accompanied Su Wan to finish 2 episodes. Of course, his gaze fell more on Su Wan than on the TV screen. Su Wan sat on the other end of the sofa, her legs curled up, the hem of her floral dress sliding up to the middle of her thighs. She was deeply engrossed in the show, frowning at times and giggling at others, her lips slightly parted, occasionally biting her lower lip subconsciously. Seeing the bridge where the leads misunderstood each other and argued, she would nervously clench the cushion, her chest heaving slightly with the plot. So alluring. Fang Tian sighed in his heart. Little Fang Tian, living with Godmother from now on, I'm afraid you'll have to suffer for a long time. Can only look, cannot touch. But Fang Tian enjoyed this painful yet happy trouble more. Otherwise, he wouldn't have agreed to move down. Past 9 o'clock, Fang Tian said goodbye and left. He had to go back to pack. Although Su-won said they would pack together tomorrow, there were some things he really couldn't let her see. Like his personal undergarments and such. His own were fine, but those collections the original owner bought online. For example, stockings and underwear worn by certain female streamers, these things had to be disposed of overnight. Fang Tian didn't have such a fetish. Besides, it was hard to tell if these things were real or fake. Who knew if they were actually the streamers? Maybe they were worn by the streamer's 200-pound best friend. Maybe they belonged to the streamer's boyfriend. The original owner's memories were like unsolved mysteries. Fang Tian would flip through them from time to time, and always reap unexpected shocks. Back home, he first used his attribute points. He dumped all 4 attribute points into X-ability. In the remarks, apart from the length changing from 11.14 cm to 11.94 cm, the other evaluations remained exactly the same. 11.94 cm. Still a long way from the 18 cm standard. Still need to grind. However, after exploring for this period, Fang Tian had vaguely figured out the system's activation rules. It wasn't that it activated whenever someone hit on him, nor was it when someone needed help. It seemed to be related to the other person's attractiveness and gender. When average-looking women hit on him, the system acted half-dead and didn't come out at all. He tried helping a handsome delivery guy move things, but the system had no reaction. Helping an old lady across the street, also no reaction. To summarize, this is a lecherous system. It only activates multiple choice questions when it encounters women it is interested in. No choice, the system forced me to become a lecher, it wasn't my own choice. After comforting himself, Fang Tian started packing. Actually, he wanted to throw away most of it, but he was afraid Su-won would be suspicious. How can a person change so much so quickly? So he adopted a compromise. He kept a small portion of figures and two-dimensional materials to display as a facade, and bagged up and threw away the rest. As for those collections like stockings and underwear, they were all destroyed, not a single one left. The original owner really brought shame to the men of this world. With a perfect start where there were more women than men, he still hid at home consuming this kind of stuff in front of a screen. Really too lazy to even criticize. He packed up a full 3 big bags of trash. The whole house looked clean and refreshing, with nothing unsightly left. Fang Tian took a shower, and it was nearly 2 in the morning when he lay down on the bed. He fell asleep as soon as his head hit the pillow. The next day, at 6 in the morning, Su-won appeared at Fang Tian's door. She was wearing a pink and white loungewear set, her hair tied loosely into a low ponytail, face bare, her skin glowing white. Thinking that Fang Tian was going to move down to live with her, she was so happy she almost couldn't sleep, tossing and turning for only 4 hours before waking up full of energy early in the morning. In these 2 years, she had mentioned 4 or 5 times that Fang Tian should move down to live. Every time, he refused without exception. Sometimes it was a silent shake of the head, sometimes a sullen no need answer, and sometimes he wouldn't even react. Unexpectedly, when she brought it up yesterday, Fang Tian actually agreed. Su-won could feel his changes from every aspect, and this change made her as excited as a girl in her early 20s. Everything was getting better. It was worth it for her departed best friend. She took a deep breath, raised her hand, and knocked on the door. No response. After waiting for half a minute, she knocked 3 more times. Still no movement. Su-won pressed her ear against the door to listen, but couldn't hear anything. She had to go back to her own home downstairs, thinking maybe it was too early and she should let him sleep a while longer. At 6:30, she came up again. Still no movement. At 7:30, 8 o'clock, she ran up a 3rd and 4th time. Every time she knocked on the door, it was like a stone sinking into the ocean. At 8:30, Su Wan stood at Fang Tian's door for the 5th time. She knocked on the door, waited a while, and there was still no response. She took out the spare key from her pocket. Tian Tian must have stayed up late last night, it's 8:30 and he's still not awake. She muttered to herself, her lips curling into a helpless yet amused smile, humph, making me run so many trips, I won't wait anymore, I'll just open it. As the owner of the apartment, she naturally had a spare key. Before, when Fang Tian locked himself in the room and wouldn't come out, she had held this key in her hand countless times, but had never used it. She was afraid of triggering him, afraid of making him angry, afraid that he wouldn't trust her. But now it was different. Fang Tian had changed, he had become cheerful, loved to laugh, and would act spoiled with her. Opening the door to wake him up, he shouldn't be angry. Su Wan unlocked the door and pushed it open. She deliberately didn't soften her movements, wanting the sound of footsteps to warn the person inside first. But the living room was empty, the curtains were drawn tightly, and sunlight squeezed through the gaps, drawing a golden line on the floor. The things in the living room had been mostly packed up. Su Wan looked around, helped him stack the few remaining books on the coffee table, and straightened the crooked photo frame. After tidying up, the master bedroom door remained tightly closed. She walked to the bedroom door and knocked, "Tian Tian, get up, it's not early anymore." Ear pressed against the door. From the other side of the door came a faint, steady sound of breathing, mixed with slight snoring, with a steady rhythm, looking like he was sleeping very deeply. She patted the door again, the snoring didn't stop. Su Wan's hand rested on the doorknob, hesitating. She turned it gently, the door wasn't locked. Her fingers paused on the doorknob, two little people fighting in her heart. One said it wasn't good for you to go in like this, what if he's sleeping naked? The other said he is your godson, what's wrong with you calling him to wake up, he must be wearing clothes. Even if he's not wearing clothes, it's nothing to be afraid of, he's just a young kid. What is there to see? Su Wan convinced herself and gently pushed the door open. The curtains in the master bedroom were also drawn, and the light was dim and soft. There was a faint smell of laundry detergent in the room, and the quilt was the one she had watched Fang Tian fold into a tofu block a few days ago, now covering him tightly. Fang Tian's sleeping posture was very obedient. The quilt covered his chest, his hands were placed on top of the quilt, his fingers slightly curled, like a child. He turned his head sideways, half of his face buried in the pillow, the corners of his mouth slightly upturned, not knowing what good things he was dreaming about. The expression on his face carrying a faint smile. His eyelashes were very long, casting a small shadow in the dim light. His breathing was steady and long, his chest rising and falling slowly with his breathing. The whole person was quiet. Seeing him sleeping so soundly, Su Wan swallowed back all the words she had prepared to wake him up. Let him sleep a little longer. The floor of the master bedroom was very clean, polished until it shone. Su Wan walked to the bed on tiptoe and sat down slowly. She rested her elbows on the bed, propped her chin with her hands, and just sat there, head tilted, quietly watching Fang Tian. Sunlight leaked in through the gaps in the curtains, drawing a thin line of light on Fang Tian's side profile, from his forehead to the bridge of his nose to his lips, as if tracing his outline with gold powder. His skin was fair, the dark circles under his eyes were almost invisible, and there was a little more flesh on his cheeks. He was no longer the skin and bones figure from 2 months ago. As Su Wan watched, the corners of her mouth curled up involuntarily. So good. This child is really getting better. A few minutes passed just like that. A voice suddenly sounded in the quiet room. It wasn't loud, muffled and slurred, but it was exceptionally clear in this quiet morning. Fang Tian's lips moved in his sleep, and he murmured a sentence. That sentence made Su Wan freeze in place, her eyes widened round, almost jumping up from the floor. "Godmother, you are so beautiful. After Fang Tian finished speaking, the curve of his mouth went up a little more, as if he were smiling at someone in his dream. Chapter 10, Moving House. Su Wan sat on the floor, her hand frozen in mid-air, her fingers stiff where she had intended to tuck the corner of Fang Tian's quilt. Her face visibly reddened, a blush spreading from her cheeks all the way to her earlobes, even her neck tinged with a faint pink. She opened her mouth, unsure what to say. Fang Tian was still asleep. What could she say to someone talking in their sleep? Should she say thank you? Her heart pounded rapidly. Logic told her it was just a dream, nothing serious, and that talking nonsense in one's sleep was normal. But her lips were disobedient, curving upward so much that she had to cover her mouth to keep from laughing out loud. She simply stayed silent, continuing to sit on the floor by the bed, her eyes sparkling as she watched the young man who had called her beautiful in his sleep. Wake him up. No rush. Let him sleep for another 10 minutes. No, another half hour would be fine too. Fang Tian turned over, smacked his lips twice, and continued to snore loudly. Was he really snoring loudly? Not at all. The moment Su Wan twisted the doorknob, Fang Tian woke up. More precisely, he was forcibly awakened by the system. The beautiful godmother has entered your room. Your choices are: 1. With a slightly lewd expression, pull back the covers, since godmother is here, let's sleep together he he he. 2. Get up and scold loudly, old hag, how shameless. A woman in her 30s entering a young man's room without permission, I spit on you. 3. Get up immediately, cover your slender body, and say in horror, you. Godmother, what do you want to do? 4. Get up normally and greet godmother. 5. Pretend to be fast asleep and say a dream-like phrase, godmother. You are so beautiful. Fang Tian mentally reviewed all 5 options, his brain working at lightning speed. Options 1 and 2 were immediately ruled out. Choosing either of those wouldn't mean moving into Su Wan's house, but moving out of the neighborhood. Option 4 was normal, but the reward would definitely be the lowest. The remaining options, 3 and 5, were both conducive to strengthening their relationship. But option 3 was too childish. A grown man in his 20s covering his chest and speaking in horror. The image was too beautiful for him to contemplate. A man's childishness should only be revealed after the relationship is intimate, then, it's called cute. During the gradual progression of a relationship, it's best to show a mature side, which gives women a sense of security. This was something a casual partner from his previous life had said during a chat, and Fang Tian found it quite reasonable. So he chose option 5. Godmother, you are so beautiful. When the word slipped from his mouth, Fang Tian's voice was muffled, the end of his sentence slightly rising, and his lips curved into a smile, as if he was foolishly grinning at someone in his dream. There's actually a big difference between someone who's awake and someone who's truly asleep. Breathing rhythm, body posture, facial expressions all have subtle differences. But Su Wan never expected that the obedient boy in her eyes would be feigning sleep, and she didn't notice a single flaw. Congratulations, host, for completing the option. Reward obtained, 2. Attribute points 1000 yuan cash, already deposited into your bank card. The rewards for attribute points and cash seem to have no fixed pattern. The same safe options sometimes yield more, sometimes less, possibly related to the difficulty of the task itself. However, he didn't plan to delve into such technical issues, he would just accept whatever the system gave him. After feigning deep sleep for another 5 minutes, Fang Tian felt it was enough. He began to groggily turn over, his eyelids fluttered, and slowly opened a crack. Tian Tian, are you awake? Su Wan asked softly. Fang Tian opened his eyes and saw Su Wan sitting on the floor by the bed. He paused for a moment, sleepily bewildered, then smiled at her, "Mm. Godmother, Why are you here? It's moving day, did you forget? Su Wan's tone carried a hint of relief. Thankfully, he wasn't angry. It seemed her guess was correct, this child really had changed a lot. The stone in her heart finally settled. How could I forget? How could I forget the days of living with Godmother? Fang Tian sat up from the bed. He didn't have a habit of sleeping naked, he was fully dressed in a dark blue cotton pajama set. Mainly because his physique hadn't recovered yet, without clothes, he was just a bag of bones. Who would he show if he slept naked? Oh, your mouth, you're getting better at sweet-talking people. Su Wan reached out and naturally stroked Fang Tian's cheek. Her palm was warm and soft, with a slight coolness from having just come in from outside. Her fingertips gently brushed his cheekbone, a gesture both intimate and natural. Not at all, I'm speaking the truth. Fang Tian placed his hand over Su Wan's, gently stroking the back of her hand as well. A warm scene of filial son and loving mother. Hurry and wash up, then get ready to move. I see you've already packed most of your things. Su Wan withdrew her hand and tugged at the hem of her tracksuit as she stood up. Okay. Fang Tian assented, then threw off the covers and got out of bed. It must be said, Su Wan was a natural clothes hanger. Even simple athletic loungewear looked exceptionally stylish on her. Today she was wearing a pink and white tracksuit. The top was a short-sleeved athletic zip-up jacket, with a white racerback tank top underneath. The jacket's zipper was only pulled up to just below her chest, leaving the neckline open to reveal the curve of the tank top inside. The racerback tank was tight-fitting, the thin cotton fabric clinging to her, outlining the full curves of her chest completely, swaying slightly with her movements. The bottom was a pair of matching colored athletic shorts. The legs were wide, but they reached just to mid-thigh, revealing two long, well-proportioned legs. Her hair was casually tied into a high ponytail with a white hair tie, exposing her smooth forehead and slender nape. A few stray strands of hair clung to her temples, slightly damp with sweat. She was probably hot from running back and forth 5 times. Her face was bare, no drawn eyebrows, no lipstick on her lips, a clean face, yet her almond eyes were exceptionally radiant. This outfit made her look like a 25-year-old girl. The two of them carried large and small bags back and forth. Su Wan walked in front, Fang Tian followed behind, hugging boxes. From behind, her ponytail swayed from side to side with her steps, and the buttocks encased in her athletic shorts suddenly rose and fell with the rhythm of descending the stairs. That curve almost made Fang Tian drop the boxes several times. He quickly averted his gaze, silently repeating a number in his mind, 11.94 centimeters, still a long way to go, focus on moving bricks, don't think about irrelevant things. The two of them finished moving in just over an hour. Fang Tian had already packed most of his things last night, and Su Wan came over in the morning to help with the finishing touches. The remaining work was basically moving and arranging. Now, Fang Tian moved into the second bedroom of Su Wan's house. The room only lacked a small independent balcony compared to the master bedroom. The lighting was excellent, the bed had been made by Su Wan in advance, and the duvet cover and pillowcases were new, carrying a faint scent of laundry detergent. Half of the wardrobe was empty, a small potted pothose sat on the desk, and the walls were clean and bare. After setting everything up, the two sat side by side on the floor by the bed, catching their breath. Both were sweating from the exertion. A few strands of Su Wan's hair clung to her neck, and the sleeves of her athletic jacket were pushed up to her elbows, revealing 2 sections of her fair forearms. Her fragrance, mixed with a faint scent of sweat, kept wafting into Fang Tian's nostrils. It wasn't perfume, but the lingering scent of shower gel after bathing, combined with the warm, feminine body scent emanating from her body temperature, which was particularly strong in the small second bedroom. To celebrate my godson moving in with me, Godmother has decided. Su Wan leaned back, supporting herself with her hands, and turned her head to look at Fang Tian, deliberately drawing out the end of her sentence, her almond eyes narrowing into two crescent moons. "We're eating out for lunch." She looked like a wealthy matriarch, as if saying, "Order whatever you want, Godmother's treat." "Great, great." Fang Tian was very supportive, clapping his hands. Looking at Su Wan's flushed cheeks and sparkling eyes, he suddenly felt that moving downstairs to live with her was probably the best decision he had made in this world. "Let's go, shower, and get ready, then we'll head out." Su Wan stood up from the floor, pulling Fang Tian up with her. Her hand was soft, loosely gripping his fingers. After pulling him up, she didn't immediately let go, pausing for a second before naturally withdrawing her hand. "Godmother, what are we eating for lunch?" "You'll know when we get there." "A new Hawaiian cuisine restaurant just opened in Gasu, recommended by my colleague, who said the food is exceptionally good." "Then I'll make sure to eat 2 extra bowls of rice." "Eat as much as you want, Godmother will make sure you're full."